when we learn screenwriting in film school, we learn this there's an exterior goal and an interior goal, which you can divide that into plot versus story, but it's all story. So what's an exterior goal and what's an interior goal? In the movie Little Miss Sunshine, we have the pageant that young Abigail Breslin has been accepted into, the Little Miss Sunshine pageant. And so the whole family makes it their goal, exterior goal, to get her to that pageant. Now, why is that? When the movie starts off, we see that the family's eating KFC. The grandpa, played by Alan Arkin, rest in peace, he's frustrated, he's angry, and why are we eating KFC again? All this chicken. But the movie starts off about Steve Carell, who plays a professor who's gay who has just survived a suicide attempt. And so we're meeting this character who was very silent at first. It's very solemn. For a lot of people, this was, I know it was for me. We knew Steve Carell as the funny guy, but he was now playing this very serious role. So this movie, on the outset, we have this guy with this deep problem that led him to trying to take his life. And on the other side, we have this, beautiful, sweet little daughter who's the family wants to get to her pageant. But the way they were initially meaning to do this was just the mom would take her or just the dad would take her. But the problem was because Steve Carell almost took himself out, he needs to be under watch for at least 48 hours. So they can't, no one is actually available to stay with him, and they don't want to trust the oldest kid with him, who's also very solemn and quiet. And it ends up being that the whole family has to go. So basically the plot forces the family to be together. And this whole movie, the beginning, the whole first half of the movie is so full of conflict and disagreements. And Greg Kinnear plays the dad, and he's kind of checked out, and he's struggling to make his dream happen of selling this book. And you see the family's just very disconnected. Even though obviously there's love there, they're just a disconnected family of regular working class folk. And it's actually the grandfather who's the only one who spends all of his time with the granddaughter, helping her prepare and perform for her pageant. And when he passes away, now that becomes the motivation for the family to set aside their little differences and realize that the reason they're all in this little Volkswagen van that needs a push to go, the reason that they're all in it together is to make sure she has this happy experience. And how is this shown in a microcosm? In a microcosm, there's a scene where they're all at a restaurant. This is before the grandfather dies. They're all at a restaurant, and the daughter, Abigail Breslin, wants ice cream. And so obviously the mom's like, hey, let's get you some ice cream. And then Greg Kinnear, being success-minded, there's a reason he's like this. He has this idea in his head of what success looks like. So the whole time he's being very aggressive. He's always on the phone. He's always trying to make something happen. And then he looks at his I don't remember if it's actually his daughter, if it's a stepdaughter, but he looks at her with the ice cream and he goes, and in the whole movie she has this little pot belly. It's just not a big belly. She's not fat. She just has a little pot belly. It's just she just looks like a normal kid. But then he looks at this ice cream and goes, you want to win the Little Miss Sunshine pageant. I mean, what is your favorite pageant winner look like? Does she have a little pot belly, or is she totally skinny? And this becomes a thing that sets the whole family off, and it makes everyone hate him naturally. It's like, and the grandfather's like, just let her have some ice cream. She's a kid. Let her be a kid. And which may be is a huge window into how Greg Kinnear grew up as a character. So, and it ends up being the grandpa and even the quiet the solemn two, the quiet son and Steve Carell. It ends up being the three of them who are like, "Ooh, no, I want some of this ice cream," and they trick her back into just admitting that she wants the ice cream because she was almost about to say no because her dad said it's going to make me look fat and I won't win. And this is a microcosm about the what the whole movie is about, which is what's the most important thing when it comes to family and life. Enjoy the moment. You know what I mean? Enjoy the moment and be together. And so by the end of the movie, when they get to the pageant, spoiler alert, every single girl there is perfectly skinny, and some of them, I think, dressed a little bit inappropriately for little kids. And it's a little weird, but then, Abigail Breslin's favorite pageant winner is there, and she's like, I can't remember if she's either 18 or older, but she's clearly been at this for a while and is just there to support the youngsters there. And she does not judge her for her weight or anything like that. She's very sweet. But when they go up there and you see girl after girl doing these potentially risque, it's like skating the line, or just, they're all basically doing some version of the same exact thing. And then over the course of the movie, Greg Kinnear, his dreams fall apart. And like I said, it's the grandfather's death that motivates him to be dialed into caring about what happens for his daughter and making sure she gets to the pageant because that's what the grandfather wanted. But at the pageant, she starts doing this wild, crazy dance that is total. It's not exactly, it's inappropriate, but in the most ridiculous, funny way. She's shaking her booty, and she's like, it's a little bit of a go-go dance, but it's so goofy the way she does it because it's like a little kid play dancing, really, and she's really just having fun up there and having a good time. And everyone's like, "Oh, this is inappropriate. This is, oh," and she's not dressed like the other girls. She's like in some weird, like workout outfit. She doesn't look like the other girls. She doesn't look like a miniature adult. She looks like a goofy kid. But again, her moves are a little bit risque as well. But somehow, because it's not dressed up pretty and it's not some flawless little, you know, performance, that everyone's like, oh, what is this? And people start saying she sucks. And then even the host tries to get her off the stage. And that's when Greg Kinnear taps into honest dad mode. And he runs up and he's about to walk her off as requested. And then he changes his mind right there and joins the dance. And he just starts doing a goofy dance that makes no sense. And then the whole family goes up there and everyone's doing a silly, stupid dance that makes no sense. And they're all together for the first time as a true family, enjoying the moment, being with each other, loving each other as they are, flaws and all. And while, you know, you got this whole crowd of family member of parents who they all dress the same, they're all clearly a bit more well-to-do than this little family of misfits, but they're all pretty much homogenous, you know what I mean? And it's just the one guy who kind of ignored Greg Kinnear earlier, because Greg Kinnear is the only one that actually looks like the rest of the parents there. He's like a rocker looking dude. He kind of looks like Danny McBride. And it's only that one guy who, at the end of the performance, cheers and rocks them on. And then, and then the family gets back in their car and rides off into the sunset. You know, it's like, it's a whole journey where, you know, the exterior goal or the plot is to get to the pageant. But getting there is everything that happens to them on the way, the journey, the conflicts that they have. That's the story. And so, what does plot matter? You know, is anyone talking about the plot when they talk about Little Miss Sunshine? Oh, you know, when they had to go to the pageant, that was when you knew things were on. You know what I mean? No. This is what I mean when I talk about story. And what does the story mean? every single character has their moment of feeling like it's just them against the rest of the family or against the world. You know, the title Little Miss Sunshine literally appears over Steve Carell's depressed face. That's not an accident. Steve Carell is alone, isolated by himself. We go to meet the family. Each one of them is isolated by themselves. By the end of the movie, they're all together, bright lights on them, everyone can see them, they're all exposed, an exposed nerve, and they're finally actually a family. They're finally together, and that is what family should be. Flaws and all, we love each other unconditionally, and we all get each other where we need to go, because that's what matters the most. And I firmly believe Steve Carell, now having this true family experience, will probably not try to hurt himself again, because now he knows he's not alone.